Unit 4. Classify the triangle by its angles and sides. So remember, for angles, well, it would help to get a pen. So for angles, we're using words like right, obtuse, and acute. And for sides, we say equilateral, all three sides are the same, isosceles, two are the same, scalene, none are the same. So, here we have a right triangle, and we have two sides the same, so that is a right isosceles. Here we have three sides the same, so that's equilateral. It doesn't matter which word you put first. And if this is 60 and that's 60, that has to be 60. So all three angles are acute. Specifically, this one's also called equiangular, but don't have to go there. All right, so the 15s don't really matter, except for the fact that if, actually I do, I lied. If the angles are the same, the opposite sides are the same. So that makes this an isosceles triangle, and this 150 makes it obtuse. So it is isosceles and obtuse. All right, let's do a little math here. We have 25 and 15. That's 40. 180 minus 40 is 140, which means this angle down here is 140 degrees, which makes it obtuse, bigger than 90. And the angles are all different, which means the sides are all different. Okay? All three of these angles are acute. They're all under 90 degrees. And again, since all three angles are different, all three sides are different. In fact, that's the shortest side, because it's opposite the smallest angle. That's the medium side, and that's the largest side. So, baby bear, mama bear, papa bear. Over here, 4, 6, and 8, blurry, scalene. All three different numbers. Now, we normally say don't assume, but you can tell all three of these angles are less than 90. That would be 90 there, that would be 90 there, and that would be 90 there. So we're going to go with acute. Find the value of each variable. Okay, well, if these angles are equal, that means these sides are equal. So 2x plus 20 actually equals 6. Subtract 20, 2x equals negative 14. Divide by 2, x equals negative 7, which is okay. You can have an x negative, just not a negative side. And think about it. If we plug in x negative 7 here, 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. Negative 14 plus 20 is 6, which would make the sides equal. All right, here we have three angles, 31, x, and x minus 15. These three angles all add up to 180 because they're in a triangle. X plus x is 2x. 31 minus 15 is 16. So we subtract 16 from both sides. When we take 180 minus 16, we get 164. Now if we divide by 2, we get 82. Now remember, the directions just say solve for each variable. We're not trying to discover what all the angles are. Alright, this one's pretty easy. We've already talked about it. This is an equilateral, equiangular, acute triangle. If it's 60 and 60 on two of them, the third one has to be 60 because 6 times 3 is 18. 60 times 3 is 180. So you should just recognize that. Alright, well it looks like Z is 90. That looks like a 90-degree mark. And Y, being opposite that, or alongside of it, a linear pair, is also 90 degrees. And since these are both 60, and these are both 90, then X, obviously, since they're both X, we just take 90 plus 60, and we get 150. Now we subtract 150 from 180, we get 30. And think about it. If this was 30, and this was 30, that makes this whole angle here, actually, that's what I was going for, I shouldn't have done that. That makes this whole angle here 60. And so we have a 60, 60, 60 triangle if we ignore that line in the middle. Makes sense. Name the special segment. All right? AY. Where's AY? AY starts at a vertex and forms a 90-degree angle. Okay? That is an altitude. It is not a perpendicular bisector because notice this side is definitely not the same length as this side. So the only two things that make 90 degrees are altitudes and perpendicular bisectors. It's not a perpendicular bisector, so it's an altitude. XZ is a perpendicular bisector. And I'm going to save space. I'm going to put the perpendicular symbol, bisector. Why is that? 90-degree angle right here. And it splits those sides into two equal segments. AX equals XB. BW. What does BW do? Well, BW splits AC into two equal pieces. It comes from a vertex, making it a median. CV. CV is splitting this angle into two equal parts. So CV is an angle bisector. And WX draw it yourself. WX, if I could actually make it work. There we go. WX, well, since X we know is a midpoint, and also W is a midpoint, it's connecting two midpoints. Whoops. So that makes it a mid segment. All right, going the opposite direction. Here's our drawing. So, perpendicular bisector. We're looking for a 90-degree symbol. Well, AB has one, but that doesn't bisect anything. HD does. Angle bisector. Well, we're looking for an angle split into two. The only angle split into two is C, so that is formed by FC. A median must come from an angle and split them in two. So notice DG and EG both go to the midpoint G because AC has two parts marked equal. AG equals GC. So therefore, one of those is a median. The problem is the median must come from a vertex. So that's going to be EG. Altitude comes from an angle and forms a 90-degree angle. So that's AB, which we were looking at earlier. And a mid-segment connects to midpoints. Well, G and D are both midpoints, as we talked about before, so that's DG. That's a horrible G. That doesn't make it much better. Still bad, but you know what it is. DG. It looks like PG, but it's DG. Given each triangle below, decide whether the given segment or line is an altitude, perpendicular, bisector, both, or neither. Okay, FH. Well, GH and EH are not marked with equal marks, so it's not a perpendicular bisector. And since we have no 90-degree angle at H marks, even though it looks like it, we say neither. ON. ON splits LK into two equal pieces, LO and OK. And NOL and NOK are 90-degree angles, so therefore it is a perpendicular bisector. And since it doesn't come from an angle, it can't be a median. I mean an altitude. Now AC, look over here. It comes from a vertex. It forms a 90-degree angle with the side and splits that side into two equal pieces. So this is both. It's a perpendicular bisector and an altitude. Actually, on 14, it's both also, because an altitude... Okay, brain's not working. Altitude has to come from a vertex. I confused myself. So 14 is only a perpendicular bisector. On 15, it's both. Sorry about that. Okay, use this figure for 16 through 21. So in DEF, DN, EO, and FM are all medians. So if EF is 50, EF is 50, so right here, what is EN? Well, median means this is a midpoint, so EN is 25. EP of PO is 17.5. Well, PO is the short piece. EP is double that, so that's 35. If DN is 36, what's PN? Well, DN is the whole thing. PN is the short piece, which is 1/3 of that, so that makes that 12. If ED is 95, what's the measure of MD? Well, since M is the midpoint, that means we take 95 and divide it by 2. And yes, we're going to get a decimal, and that's okay. Find the measure of EP if EO is 27. So again, if EO, the whole thing is 27. This takes 2 steps. The small piece is 1/3 of that. So 27 divided by 3 is 9. The long piece is double that, so 18. And 18 plus 9 makes 27. Missed 20 over here. Find the measure of FM. That's this whole piece right here. If FP is 11. So FP is the long piece. The short piece is that divided by 2. So that's 5.5. All right. M and O in triangle MNO, MT bisects OMN. So 5 and 6 are equal. NU bisects MNO, so 1 and 2 are equal. And OS bisects NOM, so 3 and 4 are equal. So, if find the measure of 6 if 5 is 35. Well, that's not right. Try that again. Bisect means they're the same. Okay, angle 2. If ONM, the whole thing, ONM, is 62, then angle 2 is half of that, 31. If angle 4 is 27, what is MON, which is the whole thing? So if 4 is 27, so is 3, so we double that, we get 54. If NMO, again, that's the whole thing here, is 34, find 6. Well, that would be half of it, 17. What is MON if the measure of angle 3 is 2x plus 11 and measure of angle 4 is x plus 25? Well, we said 3 and 4 are equal, so we just do that. 2x plus 11 equals x plus 25. I like to keep my variables positive, and I'm going to move the numbers right. So that means x is 25 minus 11, which is 14. Is that what it asked for? No. It said, what's the measure of MON? So we have to plug 14 in right there. 14 plus 25 is 39. But that is only angle 4. Remember, 3 and 4 are equal, so we double it. So 39 times 2 is 78 degrees. Last one, NU is also an altitude. Ooh. That means we have 90-degree angles here. If NUM is 3x minus 15, find the value of x. So we just set this equal to 90. We add 15 to both sides, so that's 105, and then we divide by 3, and we get x is 35. SP is an angle bisector, means 1 and 2 are equal. So 1 is 2x plus 8. So that one is 2x plus 8. QSR, which is the whole thing, is 6x. Well, if 2x plus 8 is angle 1, it's also angle 2. So we need to double that, put in parentheses to distribute, right, equals 6x. So 4x plus 16 equals 6x. I like to keep my variables positive, so I'm going to move the 4x over here. So that's 16 equals 2x. When I divide by 2, x is 8. SP is an angle bisector, so 1 and 2 are equal. So it says, if angle 2 is 54x, and angle 1 is 55x minus 1, well, we just set them equal to each other. Now, I usually like to keep my x's positive, but it'd be a double move, so I'm going to do this. And that's okay, you'll see why. So I'm going to get negative 1 equals negative 1x. When I divide by negative 1, x equals positive 1. Which makes sense. 1 times 54 is 54. 1 times 55 is 55. Minus 1 is 54. Solve for x. Well, Midpoint, midpoint, meaning this is a mid-segment. Meaning it is half of this side. Okay, this one's a little tricky. This is half of this. Which means it takes two of these to make one of these. So 4x minus 20 equals x plus 7. I'm going to subtract the x. So keeping my x's positive, subtract x, which means I need to move this 20 over to the right. So that's 3x equals 27. Divide by 3, x is 9. All right, midpoint, given these endpoints. All that means is we're going to add the x's, divide by 2, and add the y's, and divide by 2. So 6 minus 8 is negative 2, divide by 2 is negative 1. And negative 2 plus negative 7 is negative 9, divide by 2 is negative 4.5. Same thing over here. 6 plus negative 8, divide by 2. 5 plus negative 10, divide by 2. 6 minus 8 is negative 2, minus 2 is, again, negative 1. 5 minus 10 is negative 5. Again, we're going to get a decimal, negative 2.5, and that's okay. Distance, everybody's favorite formula. Square root, and there goes the board again. Square root. Remember, it's better to put the skeleton in here first in case there's double negatives, you don't mess up. So it's x minus x, so negative 6 minus 2, and negative 8 minus 3. Didn't really matter here, but that's okay. Negative 6 minus 2 is negative 8, but when we square that, we get a positive 64. Remember, be smarter than your calculator. A negative number squared is positive. Negative 8 minus 3 is negative 11. Squared is 121. So when we do 121 plus 64, we get 185. And we can leave it there at 185. If you want to do the square root of 185, it is 13.6 approximate. So I would just leave it like that. All right, here we're going to have that double negative. So you definitely want to do this first. Make your outline, your skeleton, whatever you want to say, and then fill it in. Negative 8 minus negative 6. This is where people screw up and put negative 8 minus 6. But it's going to be plus 6. And then negative 2 minus 5. So now, 6 and negative 8 is negative 2, but when we square that, remember, we get a positive 4. Negative 2 minus 5 is negative 7, but when we square that, we're going to get a positive 49. And that gives us positive square root of 53. Almost there. All right, solve for x and show your work. There's two ways to do this problem. You can do all three angles, 90 plus 29 plus 2n minus 3, all equal 180, because all triangles equal that. Now we're going to join like terms, 90 plus 29 minus 3. So 90 plus 29 minus 3 is 116. So 2n equals, oops, my bad, 2n plus 116 equals 180. When we subtract 180, from 180, we get 64. Then we divide by 2, n equals 32. There is a faster way of doing it though. $180 we have to spend at 3 stores. If we spend $90 here, that means we have $90 left to spend here. So you could just do 2n minus 3 plus 29 equals 90. It's just a shortcut. If you don't see it, it's not a big deal. This is 2n plus 26 equals 90. When we do 90 minus 26, guess what? We get 2n equals 64. Look familiar? Yep. All right. We have a vertical angle here and here, meaning this is 60. So if this is 60 and that's 75, we spent 60 at one store, 75 at the other store. That means we spent $135. To find out what we spent at the third store, since our budget was 180, we subtract the 135, and we get 45. And that is degrees, because it's x. 38. Okay, linear pair right here. This angle is obtuse, this angle is acute. Since they make 180, and that's 100, that makes that 80. So again, if we spent 80 here and 51 here, that means we spent 131. Okay, so 180 minus 131 is 49. So x is 49. And let's see the directions. Does it say just solve for x? Yep. If it did want the third angle, we would just plug that in right here, and we'd be good to go. And we're almost done. So, we spent $110 here. We started with 180. That means we have 70 left. But that 70 has to be split evenly between those two stores. So 70 divided by 2 is 35. And last but not least, look at all this stuff here. So, first off, we know why these two angles are equal. Okay? Since we have opposite sides here, that's the wrong line. Opposite sides, opposite angles equal. So this is 32, this is 32. So x is 32. We know that. So if we know 32 and 32, that's 64. This angle here is going to be 180 minus 64, which means 116. Now that doesn't give us one of our letters, but we have a linear pair right here. So 180 minus the 116 gives us 64 right here. And since we know y is the same as that, boom, y is 64. And now z is simply 64 here, 64 here, that's 128. So $108 minus 128 is 52. And that chapter is done.